contagious.
Hi and welcome to the Rise Up Mama podcast. My name's Vanessa and I'm a lifestyle coach for mums, and I'm helping busy women to step into a positive pathway for your nutrition, your well-being, and also your self-love. Now, as you may know, if you've been following my series, I do a health and well-being cafe event at the end of every month. And this month, I've got a fantastic woman with me. We've only connected online, but every time we meet, I feel like I'm with an old friend, truly. She's all the way in Scotland, but Scotland's one of my favourite places, so it's a reason to visit. So I would love to introduce you to this month's contributor. Her name is Joanna Hart. And Joanna, you tell us more about you, but welcome here.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here. So, God, yes, and like you say, it's like we've known each other for ages, all the chats we have and everything. So yes, all the way up here in Aberdeen. But yeah, I actually grew up further north from here. I actually grew up in the Orkney Islands, which are the islands north of Scotland. Grew up on a really small island of 600 people. So so all the time I was a young sort of youngster and a teenager, I couldn't wait to get away. And now that I'm getting older, I think, oh, that could be quite nice to do again. But yeah, we're not there yet. But so yes, I'm in Aberdeen. I came down here to do my nursing and midwifery. I was here for about 10 years. And then I lived in Asia for 7 years. And that was kind of where I had this little epiphany moment, which we'll talk about again in a minute. We were there for 7 years and then came back to Aberdeen again. So confused.com, that's what I am. Traveled around the world, don't know, but you know, Scotland's my roots. Yeah, so
absolutely amazing. So with the Orkney Islands, how old were you when you left?
Well, so back to the confused.com. My mum and my dad decided that we would move right from the south coast in West Sussex all the way to Orkney when I was 6. And so at 14, I left the little island and went into the mainland at 14 to go and do our higher education. Got home like once a month and we stayed in like halls, if you like. And then I left Orkney. Well, I sang in a band for about 3 years. I didn't want to leave. And then I thought, right, I need to grow up and go away. And I came down to Aberdeen when I was 22, actually, to do my nursing. So did my nursing and then my midwifery and then went off to Asia. So yeah, it's all kind of like...
So just to put a bit of context behind this conversation, do you know what? When I heard that little noise and I thought, Zenta's gone to bed. And
she's not. She's yelling at me saying, pick me up. And I'm like trying to ignore her, but I'm not going to be able to, so sorry.
Because I thought, Zenta's gone to bed. But no, just to put a little context behind the conversation. So for those of you who've been following this series, I do the Health and Wellbeing Cafe at the end of the month, but I like to have the guest contributor with me before the event, just so we can get to know well, I know Joanna, but just so the audience can get to know the guest contributor and find out a little bit more. So Joanna, it's fantastic that you've already shared the very early childhood you, and you've just reminded me that I was listening to Simon Sinek today. Is it Sinek? I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but he said that the population sizes did he say 1,000 years ago? I can't remember the time scale, but he said we used to live in populations of only 100 people way back when, and then you just said
I can well believe it. Well, Orkney apparently used to be like the Viking hub of the north. So there's lots of obviously great archaeological stuff there. But yeah, so the island I was on, it's one of the northern islands there. So there was 600 people. So yeah, and it was a real community lifestyle, you know, like people used to help, you know, each other. We all kind of had like small holdings and farms. And it was very much a case of like helping out others with their crops, and they come and help you, or you might give someone some eggs and they give you some tatties, you know, stuff like, potatoes. And so, you know, and it's funny, isn't it? Because like now I'm approaching 50, and with everything that's happening in the world right now, you know, we've become very materialistic and consumeristic. And so now like the thought of actually growing vegetables and doing all that kind of stuff again is what's kind of appealing to me again. And I kind of have a little chuckle to myself, because when I was sitting there as a kid, I was like, oh, got to go and do the hay, go and put the haystacks together, go and fork in the silage pit and all that stuff, you know. So the farm life was how I grew up. So yeah, and now it's kind of, I think, oh, that'd be quite nice to go back to again. So full circle.
So this is the thing, Joanna. I mean, just for those who are tuning in now, many of our conversations over about the last year and a half that
Yeah,
we've connected,
about a year anyway. Yeah,
about a year, have been about, you know, an alternative lifestyle, an alternative way of seeing the world. So we've definitely aligned in the way how we think and what we want to do for the future and for our families as well. So I really love that about our conversation. So you've already told us that you did midwifery, and did you say nursing as well?
yeah. So I was a
Yeah,
nurse first,
okay.
yeah.
So, and that's where we've always touched base when I tell you about my daughter and how she's a qualified nurse, and you've given some great ideas for me to pass over to Destiny. So thank you for that. But I want to know now about what you actually do. So the capacity that I know you in, and one thing that stays with me, because
It's
I
the
bet you
coffee clubs.
online, haven't I? The
Yeah.
networking events. So you say, I can drink my cleaning products, can you? And I always think, no, I actually can't. So tell us more about what you do with, is it ENJO?
ENJO, yeah,
Yeah,
ENJO. So
ENJO.
it's an Austrian product, so the J becomes a Y. So yeah, ENJO.
Okay, so
Yeah.
ENJO. Tell us about that, and also tell us how you got started, please.
Right. So, well, I kind of briefly touched on the fact that I said to you that I went to Asia, and that's kind of where I had a little bit of an epiphany, kind of like a change in my thought process, if you like. So obviously being a nurse and a midwife, I'd grown up in the indoctrination of like Western medicine and pharmaceuticals and everything. But I always had this little hub of like natural remedies. I always quite liked trying to do things as naturally as possible. And even when I was a midwife, when it came to like laboring and everything, I always tried to make the situation and, you know, do it naturally, you know, don't want to have interventions, which will come on to what I'm about to go and start doing shortly as well. But anyway, so when we moved to Asia, I had my girls, and after I had my girls, I wasn't very well. You know, I felt I had lots of physical things going on, like my hair went quite thin, I was quite gaunt looking, I had really heavy periods. Sorry, any blokes in the room, but I just wasn't feeling very well. And when I went to the Western medicine gynecologist, they were very much like, oh, you know, that's quite common after you have your second baby, you know, maybe you're just a little bit depressed. And I was like, I am not freaking depressed, I feel awful. And a friend of a friend gave me a book about anti-aging and functional medicine. And I am getting to the reason why I'm doing ENJO in a minute.
That's fine.
And so when I actually went onto a website, she gave me this book, I read it. It was called Breakthrough by Suzanne Somers, and I really recommend that as a read. And it's Somers, S-O-M-E-R-S, and Suzanne, not Susan. And I read that book, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, this is me. And it was kind of like looking at perimenopause, looking at how things imbalance our hormones and stress and everything. And it was, you know, it was kind of like that kind of ta-da moment. And I looked on the website, and I actually found a doctor who was registered with the American Anti-Aging Association, about a 3 hours drive out of Kuala Lumpur. So I got in my car and I drove by myself, like to Batu Pahat, it was called. And I met this guy, and honestly, he like, you know, I just sat down and said, look, this is my symptoms. I said, I feel really tired, I've got all this stuff going on. And he says, well, you know, it does sound like you might have estrogen dominance, but you don't physically fit that profile. So we'll do your bloods and we'll have a look. And at that point, he was predominantly working with couples with fertility that had failed IVF and everything. So that was kind of his specialty. So I kind of came along and threw a spanner in the works. But anyway, I got lost on the way there too. I went to the wrong place and all the rest of it as well. But anyway, he phoned me 2 days later after taking bloods, and he said to me, you have total adrenal fatigue, or, you know, adrenal dysfunction. He said, your cortisol is in your boots. And given that you got lost when you came here and you drove all this way and everything, it really should have been really elevated. So he says, you know, the first thing I want you to do is get rid of your beauty products, your cleaning products. We're going to put you on a non-stimulant diet. So there's no caffeine, no alcohol, no sugars, etc. And we're going to work with natural supplements and try and get you rebalanced. And it's going to be about a 6-month process. And I was like, oh my God. But the first thing I thought was, cleaning products. Like, I just didn't think about it. You know, I didn't think about it. And he said, yes, they are massive endocrine disruptors. So they can kind of like block, imbalance your hormones. They can be triggers for asthma and eczema and all these other things. So getting how I got into ENJO, when we came back to the UK, then I worked with that doctor. He actually did classes up in Kuala Lumpur, and I got friends involved, and we did like workshops and stuff. When I came back to UK, I'd obviously made all these changes in my life and my diet and everything. And we were cleaning with things like, you know, microfibers and olive oil and lemon juice and vinegar and bicarb and stuff. But I came back and one of my friends said to me, oh, I'm having this demo, you should come along. And that's where I got introduced to ENJO. And I was like, oh my God, this is just exactly what I'm looking for, you know? And so I ended up buying the products, totally fell in love with them. I had a few demos because I wanted to share it with people that I knew as well. And then the woman said to me, you know, why don't you just do this? And I was like, meh, okay. And that was 11 years ago. So what I'm passionate about, because definitely not cleaning. I'm not passionate about cleaning, but I just really love the fact that ENJO is a great vehicle to kind of reach people and to talk about, you know, how you can create a healthier home for you and your family just by changing one thing that we're already doing, but just changing it to a different way, and how that can have a massive impact, because we have become so brainwashed, and it's just, you know, we're just oblivious to it, but it's this, you know, subliminal programming that's going on all the time, that we need to use antibacterials, that we must use all these chemicals, all these bleaches, all these, you know, all these other bits and pieces around our homes. And really, we don't. This is amazing fibre technology, and just using cold water to clean your home. It sounds mental, but, you know, so that is my reason for doing it, really. And I think, you know, what I love about it is that once people start that, I might have the biggest bleach queen in the room saying, oh, but I love my bleach. And I'll go, oh, do you realize that's directly linked to sinusitis and tonsillitis? And invariably, those people will say, oh my God, my children's got tonsillitis, you know, so you can see it coming through. And then that can be the next thing. Then they'll say, well, what do you recommend for this? And we talk about oils, we talk about, you know, getting rid of fabric conditioners, all this other stuff. So it just becomes a bigger kind of a bigger thing, you know, and it's just the vehicle that kind of gets the conversation going, because we all clean, whether we love it or hate it, we all do it, don't we? So you know, ENJO is a fit for everyone. So yeah, that's what I love about it, and that's how I really got into it. So yes, that's it really.
Fantastic. Well, I've got two questions. I should have had a pen actually, because I've forgotten one of them. I didn't want to interrupt you. But the first one was about your beautiful daughters. Were they born in Asia then?
No, so they were conceived in Asia.
Okay.
But I came back to the UK. I think part of me, because I wanted to come back to a familiar kind of environment, you know, I knew the consultants and I knew the midwives and that, and I knew they had a birthing pool. And I wanted to be back home with my mum. So I actually came back, and we spent sort of like probably 2 months, like a couple of weeks before I was due, and then a few weeks after, and then went back to Asia, which kind of totally knocked up my youngest one's cycle, because she was awake from 1 till 5 every night, which was another real test on my adrenals for a while there too. But yeah, so I think that was kind of, that probably was the nail in the coffin for my adrenals, I think.
And I remembered the second question. So after the consultation that you had with the doctor and changing these things, did your original symptoms, what was the impact of all the changes that you made?
Well, so it's funny, I'll tell you, because I'm obviously living in Asia. We had, like, I had a maid that used to come in as well, and she was lovely, like, you know, and I sort of said to her, right, we're going to get rid of cleaning products and all the rest of it. So, and she was like looking like I was nuts, but I'll tell you about her in a minute. So I obviously, my hair grew back in, I had so much more energy. I lost weight. Well, not that I'd put on lots of weight, but I was kind of carrying weight that, you know, hormonal weight, if you like, and that all kind of fell away. My skin was much better, my cycle settled down, my bleeding wasn't quite as bad. So yeah, I just got a zest for life again. I think when you've got adrenal fatigue, which then knocks off your thyroid, because the cortisol has to be in good balance to keep your thyroid happy, that whole endocrine cycle, then of course, you know, I wasn't feeling quite so low, because with having thyroid dysfunction, then you can have like feelings of like feeling a bit depressed and that, you know. So that for me was another big learning curve, because I would love to know how many people are out there that have a hormone imbalance, that are having symptoms of depression and now have been shoved on antidepressants, when all it could have been was maybe just jiggling the diet and trying to rebalance their hormones. So I would imagine there's a huge percentage of the population that has happened to, especially women, you know, because, you know, having children and breastfeeding, all that kind of stuff, it does take, and especially majority of women are a little bit older now when they're having children. And one thing I took from that book was that, you know, as we get older with the perimenopause and with children, we don't always get back to base again. So these problems can escalate and become compound, if you like, especially if you have more children. So I think that was part of my issue, because I was kind of pregnant breastfeeding, and pregnant miscarried, all in sort of like 4 years. So, you know, it kind of like was, you know, quite intense, and that hormonal thing for your body to get back. So yeah, I just felt brilliant. I had a real great zest for life. Like I say, my hair was really thick and long, and my nails were great, you know, just all these little things that when you kind of look at yourself, you think, well, that's not good, you know, like if you've got dry skin or, so yeah, they definitely made a big difference. And going back to my lovely Marissa, she used to get like fibroids in her breasts. And, you know, and I, you know, she'd spent a lifetime doing that, you know, working for people and doing cleaning and stuff. And so she was handling a lot of products. And so I said, right, we're going to stop this. And I bought her some wild yam cream, which is like a natural progesterone, because fibroids and bits in your breast tends to be estrogen dominance. And I just remember about 5 weeks later, like I gave her this cream and said, put this on, blah, blah. And she comes up to me, she goes, oh, madame. She goes, there's no lumps in my boobs. I'm like, I don't need to feel them. That's brilliant, Marissa. So, you know, so that was another great story, just changing those things, you know, and she was quite open to kind of come on the journey with us, which was brilliant. So yeah, this definitely does make a difference. And we're again very oblivious to all the stuff that's in our food, all our processed stuff, and even down to, you know, our vegetables and stuff. They're sprayed with so many preservatives and everything. So you really have to start looking. And once you start kind of, you know, we can't change everything. You could become totally obsessed, but you know, just looking for the changes that you can make. I think, you know, that's the biggest thing, to start somewhere and just add in gradually as you go along. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that, Joanna, because like I've just remembered that this week I'm doing it. Well, for those of you who don't know, I do a daily offering in the morning. And one of the tips that I've given this week, because we're talking about 21 ways to look after yourself, was to actually have a check, like an annual check-in with the doctor, with the GP. Get your bloods taken, get some of these tests taken. So if a woman, after hearing what you've just said, because I said it very kind of on the basic level, you know, but you've gone much deeper, what tests do you think would, you know, if you know, you've described quite a few symptoms, and even what you said there about women having children when they're older. I was 42 when I had Centre, and you're right, you know, actually where have I gone back to? Because I didn't go back to where I was when I had Destiny. I was 18 when I had Destiny, so obviously my body's changed. What type of tests would you advise that we would have? Even
well, it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky because the difference, God, my face has gone really red. I'm getting hot under the light. So I think it's a little bit tricky because Western medicine and a lot of their blood references and everything, the ranges are so wide. And one thing I did notice when I came back is, you know, I had bloods done here, but when I had bloods done in Asia, my thyroid function levels were quite low, but they were within the normal, but only just. And by the time I did this detox and everything, they'd kind of moved right up to the upper end of the range. So that's my normal. And unfortunately, when, you know, a lot of blood tests and everything, because that reference range is so wide, it means that we don't know what our optimal normal is. And like I say, it could be right up near the top end. It could be down the bottom end, but, you know, if you've got symptoms. So it's a bit tricky. I was speaking to a friend today, Jackie Wood, actually, and she was sort of saying, you know, probably to go and find someone who specializes in hormone balance and hormone function. And maybe if you're older, to look at people like menopausal specialists, because, you know, they need to understand your history. They need to look about what, you know, what's happened with your body. Because I've got adrenal fatigue, I have quite low progesterone. And then once I realized that, it fitted in with the endometriosis, and I had my gallbladder removed, you know, and this is all symptoms of low progesterone, but no GP probably would have known that. So yeah, you know, so if you are doing that, I think, you know, try and find someone who's a little bit more of a specialist.
Okay.
Rather than your natural, your GPs, because, you know, they're general practitioners, which means that they have a general information about lots of things. They're not experts. So try and find someone who does look into that a lot more. You have to get Jackie Wood on. She'll give you.
Jackie is already coming onto the programme. It's towards the end of the year, though. I'll find out the exact date. But no, plug for Jackie, wonderful woman, and we will be talking.
Yeah, no, because she's, it's one of her specialties, and she's really, but yeah, and I think it's, it's a whole range of things that come into play. And when you find someone who does anti-aging functional medicine, they tend to look at everything in comparison with each other. So it's not just doing bloods for one thing and thinking, all right, you're okay, you're fine. It's looking at how it's in balance and checks with everything else. So that's what we kind of look to try and find someone who's a little bit more of a specialist. So
fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks for that, Joanna. So going back to the morning show. So if you haven't caught up with it yet, it's called Grand Rising with Vanessa. So that's Grand Rising with Vanessa. I'm filming it on Facebook, but I am putting copies over on YouTube. So we're a bit behind on the YouTube episodes. But one of the things that I talk about is the morning routine. So that is the question that I have for you, Joanna. What is your morning routine? Do you have one? Is it something you want to share? Do you have any tips that you want to pass on there?
Right, well, I'm going to be totally honest, right? I'm not good in the mornings, and that again goes back to the whole adrenal things and your circadian cycle. So a normal function, normal healthy, like, not normal, but somebody who's good in the mornings, if your adrenals are happy, then you tend to find that your melatonin will come in at night, you'll sleep, and then your hydrocortisol starts boosting and it wakes you up in the morning. But because I've got that kind of sluggish way, I kind of like get up a little bit sometimes, like, so it takes me a little bit. What's my morning routine? I get up and I do try and just like, do stretches. I think that's good, just to move your body and to try and just open everything up. And stretching is so great. And I think that that's a much better exercise for my age group now than trying to go out running or anything like that. Yoga, I do some like downward dogs and sun salutation type things. Glass of water, have a glass of water in the morning, just get up and sort of like just, refresh what you've lost through the night. Again, I find that sometimes I get really hot at night, and I don't think people realize that we lose like nearly half a glass of water every night when we sleep. Do you know that? Like, it's quite a lot of water, of moisture that we lose when we're sleeping. And then I think I do my gratitude type thing, try and be kind of like, well, okay, we're up this morning, it's a great day, I've got this, I had a good sleep, what have I got on for the day? And then a cup of coffee, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, I think just I like to try and take my time. Obviously, if I need to move in the morning, I will, but it's just trying to do a slower pace. And I think that's okay. I think that a lot of women, they then think that because that's their morning, that's not normal and that's not good, but we're all different. And I'm a real night bird. So, I tend to be quite productive in the evenings, where a lot of people go to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock. So, don't criticize yourself, do what works for you. And like sometimes I'm getting woken up by the dog or the cat, and then you're like, ah! But yes, so having dogs, that's the other thing too. I have to get up and walk them in the morning, so I don't get to be too lazy in the mornings, because they like to go out for their walks. So
no, that's fantastic. I mean, you do host an early networking.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I'm always on the go. I'm always on the go by sort of 9:30, 10, like up and ready for work, but I'm not good. Get me out of bed at 7 o'clock. It takes me sort of half an hour to kind of get my thoughts together.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Well, we've touched slightly on your family life. So we know that you've got, well, I've only seen a photograph of one of your beautiful daughters, but I'm assuming the other daughter is equally as beautiful. So I've just got a question to sort of like get to know how you like to spend time with your family. What is your favorite sort of family time activity, please, Joanna?
Well, I think I'm just mainly a taxi driver at the moment. They've got their own social lives. They're 16 and nearly 18, so of course, that's that. But we like to play a few family games, and we like to go out dog walking. That's another thing, one or both. My youngest one's not too keen on doing that, but so it's it's just doing dog walking, nature. I like being out in nature, so that's kind of what we do. And like I say, they do their own thing now. So hang on, I've got can you go out? Go.
Have a visitor. But
they're coming out. It's like, oh, yeah, sorry.
This is why I love connecting with mums, Joanna, because in the morning show, and you've seen Zenta on the networking calls, and you've just asked me about his hair. So this week, well, Monday, Zenta had really big hair because I needed to plait it, and then Joanna was talking telling me about your experiences of plaiting your daughter's hair when they were younger. So we had that conversation. But yeah, this is why I love connecting with mums as well, because it helps me not to feel guilty.
Yeah, well, it's no, as long as that they're both coming in, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on doing recording. I'm just waiting for the Great Dane to come in. That'll be the next.
Oh, bless you. So let's talk about how you like to relax. And I'm just saying goodbye to Mark. Okay, how you like to relax and spend time on your own. How does that happen? What does that look like for you, please?
Well, I mean, I do like spending time with friends and having food and stuff like that. But lately, I think just the way that life's been this last couple of years, I actually quite like just, you know, chilling out on my own. I love reading and listening to YouTube videos about health. You know, I've been investigating a lot about iodine, which is something anyone in here should go and have a look at too. So like iodine, looking at DMSO, so dimethyl sulfoxide, looking at chlorine dioxide. I've been looking at hydrogen peroxide. So I love looking at natural stuff and remedies for things like that. So I spend a lot of time. That to me is quite a nice way to relax. And I've just started my own. I've just become, can I just show you this? Like, so I've just got my my birth doula certificate. So yeah, so obviously I've been looking into, that's my next venture, just trying to look at business, but looking into natural childbirth, looking at ways to, you know, support women, so all that kind of stuff. I love health. I could read about oils and I could read about natural remedies and all those kind of things. So that's my relaxation, actually. I quite like looking at those and listening to other sort of doctors talking about these old remedies that kind of got pushed out by pharmaceutical because it doesn't make money. So like, you know, we were talking about books. This one's a really good, The Green Witchcraft. So look, things like that. That's what I like to do in my spare time. I like to always sort of up my knowledge and, you know, open to anything and learn about stuff. That's what I like to do to relax. Might not be relaxing for some, but
it sounds very much like where I am in my life as well. You know, knowledge is power, and we need information for ourselves. And you know, the role that you are in, particularly the new role that you're stepping back into, it's about assisting and signposting and providing guidance and information. So we do need to keep up with the information that's out there. So that's great, Joanna. Thank you. All right, so this is just a bit of a fun question, just because, just going back to my show this morning, I was talking about how you can look after yourself, and I said, don't reach for your phone first thing in the morning. Yeah, which is funny because I'm doing an early show, so they don't have to tune in right away, and I do post to my group. But in terms of apps, we know how much technology is a big part of our life. I just wanted to find out which app you tend to use the most on your phone, please, and why.
I think YouTube, just for all the reasons that I've been saying. There's a lot of people that I follow that do videos, weekly videos about health and stuff. So I think YouTube is probably my biggest one at the moment, actually. Researching lots of things, you know, so, you know, you and I have had chats about sort of like common law and all the things like that as well. So I would say, yeah, definitely YouTube.
Wow. Interestingly, YouTube is what I have on during the day. In fact, I've had a day of silence. I think I needed it. I told you, didn't I?
I like that too.
Yeah, I told you that I'd had one of those days and I just needed my own headspace, and I needed to get some downloads coming through, which was lovely. So YouTube's on the computer, as it were.
Well, phone or computer?
No, just the computer.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
But on my actual phone, I would say for myself, because it used to be Telegram. So when I first connected with you, my go-to app was definitely Telegram, because I was picking up a lot of information about common law and, you know, living as a divine sovereign being via Telegram. But now, gosh, what would it be for me? Do you know, it's a bit weird. I think it's a mixture, like, oh, okay, I'm going to say WhatsApp, because that's what's actually opened right now. So I've got 2 groups in WhatsApp that I actually admin for, and then a few groups that I'm still part of, but not as heavily involved as I was before. But yeah, so it's just an interesting conversation. But
you're like me, you're a chatterbox, and you know, so I would say that I spend as much time WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, in groups where we're sharing information and stuff as well, definitely. But me, on a personal thing, I'll just like to say YouTube is more of my research go-to and listening to things, and you know, there's 2 sides to every story. So I think that, you know, when I hear something, I'm like, especially if it comes from mainstream media. Like I always like to think, I know what, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to find out, because again, you know, I think we've just become, I think even I did, you know, we become a little bit lazy. We just sort of listen to stuff. But I have to say, I switched off the news. I stopped watching, you know, mainstream TV, terrestrial TV about 9 years ago, because I just felt that everything is doom and gloom. There is nothing positive that comes out of listening to the news. And you know what I mean? It's almost like they always want you to have this kind of like, oh, the world's really crap. You know, so just switch it off. Switch it off. Don't watch it.
You know, you've just read my mind, because I was going to say, I don't have a television, which you know anyway, and some of my regular viewers know this, don't have a television. The TV license keep writing. And Mark, honestly, because he's so like, oh.
Because I can't believe that you don't have a TV.
Exactly. But Mark's like, what if they come round? I'm like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, but if they, and I'm like, Mark, do we have a television? No. Okay, so if we don't have a television and they actually want to come around, what do you think is going to happen to us? I don't know. What, you know, and it's
they'll come to the door and you'll say, I don't have a television. They'll go, oh, okay, and off they'll go. It's like it.
Because you know, I've got some rubbish at the side of my house, so we've got to invest in a skip, definitely. If anybody does not believe me, the TV, which is on top of that dump out there. So yeah, just throwing that one in.
No, I think, you know, I just think switch it off. It's just negativity. And yeah, and I mean, I'm even one of these people, I switch my Wi-Fi off every night. I don't have any electronics in my bedroom. My teenagers drive me nuts, because it's like a stock record where I'm like, can you put your stuff on airplane mode? Can you charge it at the other side of your room? And they're like, oh, Mum. But again,
you know what, Joanna, I think like even for the Health and Wellbeing Cafe, I'm going to bring in those more high level conversations to really have a specialist. I've met a specialist through being in Telegram groups who can really talk about the effects of the Wi-Fi, the this and the that, you know, what we can do about it.
You need to speak to Marianne Tim. She does stuff on that as well. She's in the 4N actually, but she's a lot of that. But you know, I've been aware of like your sort of your EMFs and how they
yes.
And again, that was Dr. Selvin when I was back in Asia. He said that, you know, our circadian rhythm, if you've got electronics in your room like a TV or you're charging your phone, it interferes with that and it affects your thyroid function. So get them out of your bedroom.
It's all connected. Well, to be fair, just thinking about Feng Shui, Feng Shui said you shouldn't have a television in your room because the bedroom is for sleeping, so you don't mix the so I never had a television in my room because of Feng Shui. Then I had one downstairs but found I didn't watch it. Then with everything that was going off over the last 2 years, I was like, I don't want it, put it on the dump.
Yeah, no, totally. But yeah, it's just these little things that again, you know, technology is just coming, you know, more and more into our lives. And I think that, you know, when we're staring at our screens, like, you know, when you're looking at computers, get outside, get your socks off and walk around in the grass, you know, get rid of all that positive charge and get, you know, discharge it into the earth. You know, those kind of things. I know people might think, oh, it's a bit hippie, whatever, but it really does make a difference. So get your shoes and socks off and just go walk around your garden for 5-10 minutes, a couple of times a day. Good. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, just to sort of like bring the conversation back to you, you've kind of flashed up your new certificate, said this may be your response, but I'm just wondering like what's coming up for you in the next year in terms of your business and what you're planning to do. So if you wanted to tell us a bit more about, you know, because it's like you're going back into where you started, aren't you? So do you want to tell us some more? I think that, you know, obviously at the time I got involved with ENJO, that's not going anywhere. I love the product. You know, that was fitted better for me with 2 small children and not doing 12-hour NHS shifts, you know, so, and it just grew and it's become, you know, I really love doing it. But I just feel I'm one of these people, I've got so much knowledge that I want to share and so many things I want to do, and it's trying to find a way to put it all together. So, you know, ENJO will always be a part. And I think that, you know, offering this birth doula concept now is a way that I can, you know, try and help educate people in health and everything, just like I have with ENJO, but going back to something that I really loved. I do miss giving, you know, I do miss delivering babies. Not that I'll be delivering them, I'll just be with pregnant women, because there's a difference between a doula and a midwife. But I'd like to try and find a way to bring it all together. You know, so ENJO, obviously, if you're going to have a new baby in your home, then I'm going to really want you to try and get rid of all your chemical cleaning products, you know. talk about different ways of supplementing and optimizing your health, and looking after your baby and all these different things. So it's finding a collective way to bring it all together, so I can offer a sort of a one-stop shop because I love my essential oils and stuff as well. So but it's just, I think I love speaking to people about this stuff, and I think that's a really nice place to start, is to kind of empower women to take control of their bodies, and to maybe empower themselves to learn a little bit more what's happening to them, and how they can help, supplementations, and to even meditate, to manifest all these things. And they play a massive role in delivery as well. We kind of, I think now it's become a bit of a medical procedure where you get pregnant, you go to the doctor, they book you in for your scan, and then you just rock up at the hospital. And and I used to always think that, these interventions, and women were made to have babies, but there's the fear that's kind of coming. And again, because we've had all this kind of drilled into us, that there's a slight fear that comes with it, because we're not getting the information and the support and everything that we need prior to it happening, so I think there's an element of that. So that's kind of area I'd like to work on. So watch this space.
Watch this space. Sounds very exciting. And of course, as your babies get older, I'll be saying, I'd like to tell them about Zumbini and how we can bring music and dance and everything. So
exactly. Yeah, well, you'll maybe have to come and do a talk to my women postnatally, because I would like to put antenatal and postnatal classes that I can, so they're just there for support stuff and have different people. So yeah, you never know, you might be zooming in doing a class.
Zooming in Scotland, but also have a reason to visit Scotland as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I absolutely love Scotland. So let's talk about, I know this, I put these questions in because some of it's really relevant to what I like to talk about as well. But I love quotes. I haven't even said a quote all in this conversation, but
I was thinking about that when you said
quotes.
Well, when you sort of gave me a list of some of the questions you're going to ask, I don't know, I find myself thinking and saying quite often, every day is a school day. And I think that's one of my favorites, because that you can always learn something. No, we don't know everything. There's always something. And I would say most days there's something going, oh, that's interesting, I didn't know that. So yeah, I think just be open to new information, be open to looking for answers to different things, because I think it is. My reaction to a lot of things is like, oh, that's interesting, because you don't know. Like I say, there's two sides to every story. So yeah, every day's a school day.
I love that. Thank you, Joanna. That's going to stay with me. Brilliant. Okay, so let's talk about books. You've already flashed one book up, which is fantastic. So go back to that book, please, Joanna, and tell us a bit about it.
This one is a book that I got. It's called Green Witchcraft, and it is a practical guide to discovering the magic of plants, herbs, crystals, and beyond. And I just love that, because I love all those things. And if you're someone that's interested in nature, and you're interested in herbs, and you're interested in natural sort of supplementation or cures, if you're interested in crystals and stuff as well, it's kind of got a little bit of everything. And what I really like, look at this little detail. See, look, it's got little leaves in each of the top corners. How cute is that? Anyway, but that is one of the book that I'm on.
Who's the author of that one, please?
It is Paige van der Beek. So yeah, Paige van der Beek. I haven't got my glasses on. So that is my book of the moment. That's the one I'm kind of working my way through. But I mean, obviously in growing your business and all the rest of it, I've done all the kind of like, the compound effect. I've done, effective habits of effective people. One that I do really like was called, because it's my own business, there was one called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy.
I've not read that one, and I follow Darren. He's probably mentioned it in his podcast.
Yeah, so, and I like audiobooks. I used to be in my car quite a lot when I was listening to that, so I'm not so much now, because I used to drive around everywhere with work, but now I tend to be a little bit more at home, if you like, and I love audios. So that was an audiobook that I had that was really good. And then the other book that I've got, and I've kind of really reeled it out again, it's called Mojo: How to Get It, How to Keep It, and How to Get It Back When You Lose It. So that's quite a little bit, and that's by Marshall Goldsmith. And I read that book a while ago, and I just, how sometimes you just find these and think, that's interesting. I was obviously meant to come across that one again, because I do, you go through phases, don't you, in your business, where you kind of think, oh, and you have to kind of remotivate yourself. So that's another book that I recommend. And then another one that I'm having a bit of fun with at the moment is called Word Magic.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so powers and occult definitions of words. And that's really interesting when you actually realize that every day in the English language, it's like, you know, it's word magic. We don't actually realize what we're agreeing to or what we're being asked to do and stuff. So if you're curious about that, then that's another good book as well.
Well, that really takes me back to why my early day show is called Grand Rising with Vanessa. And I've explained in one of my episodes about the word mourning, for example. And the fact you don't want to keep affirming that you're mourning for people who pass. So, you know.
Exactly. The Grand Rising, yeah, definitely. And it's funny, isn't it? Because we don't really question it. We don't actually think about it. But, you know, it's like when we learn to do spelling, well, it's casting spells with words, isn't it? So
you cast those spells.
That's when your children go say, oh, I've got my spelling, what do they call it? Spelling test. That's it, you know, it's a spelling test. And you're like, oh, so there you go. But it's interesting. So that's a book, that's Piao Chang, that book is, and that's really interesting.
Very popular, that one is within the alternative community. There's a lot of souls who have definitely either had the because I think there's a PDF version of that as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
PDF version or the hard copy version. So,
and if you are into that, that's another good book, Putting the Stopper in the Bottle of Death by Gary Frauen. So,
oh wow, so some deep reading going on there.
Yeah, so I've got piles of books, and that between like sort of alternative remedies and what to do with hydrogen peroxide. Honestly, you don't want to see what's sitting behind the laptop.
Well, you're definitely a woman who I love spending time with.
Oh, thank you,
and I want to thank you so much for sharing, you know, snippets of your life, sharing the knowledge that you have about your own journey, and also helping us to think about how we can maybe look at things a bit different for our health, and also information that's been shared with us. So as we leave for now, because we're going to just touch on what's coming up, obviously in the Health and Wellbeing Cafe arena, it's all about sharing happiness habits. So I was just wondering if you've got a happiness habit that you could leave with us today in this chat that we've had, please, Joanna.
I think get up in the morning and look in the mirror and just be thankful that you've woken up, because like we often get in, God, look at myself, and you look at it and think, God, I look old today. Don't do that. Don't do that. Think about what your body's been through. I kind of look at myself and think, okay, you know what? I'm nearly 50. I've done all these things. I've had 2 children. So look in the mirror and just be like, you know, don't do that whole like about yourself, because that can just start your day off really crap. So maybe think about, you know, just think about, you know, look at the things and look at who you are, and the experience that you've had and everything, because this all shows on our bodies, doesn't it? So yeah, be kind to yourself.
Oh, that's beautiful. So before we leave, let's just remind anyone listening in now, because we're mid-March, so we've got a couple of weeks before we're going to gather again. It's Thursday the 31st of March at 7:30. It happens in Zoom, and it is a very intimate event. So it's an intimate online event. The bookings are coming through thick and fast. So don't ask me right now how many places are still available. But if this is something you want to get involved in, please press the link that will be underneath. So it's a celebration evening, because my birthday will be on the 29th of March. So it's a celebration for me. I have VIPs in the community who've done fantastic work over the time that we've been working with them, Joanna. So the transformation in these women's lives, whether it's their health, their nutrition, their self-love, you know, looking at their confidence and their aspirations. We've got stories that we want to share and celebrate. We've also got a singer with us. So one of my VIPs, one of my VIPs, she's decided that she's taking back her power and shining and sharing her gifts with her beautiful voice. So we've got Giselle Coval, who will be doing at least one song with us in the evening. And then we have the beautiful you, Joanna Hart, who's giving us a talk about how happy are your hormones. So tell us about that, please.
Well, we've kind of touched on it tonight, I think, and it's just looking at some changes that you can make in your home, some products you can change out that can have a bit more of a positive effect on your home air quality and the home environment. Because don't forget, we spend a lot of time in our rooms. We're sleeping for 7-8 hours, and you know, so our homes need to be, you know, a place of safety and like to be healthy, you know, so trying to make better options. So we're going to talk about some of the impacts that some products you might have, and how we can kind of keep your endocrine system happy, because if you've got all that going and you kind of think about food and all the rest of it, then it can just make you feel even better. And I think that we are really exposed to so many toxins and so much rubbish out there, that if we can just make changes in things that we're doing all the time, like say cleaning, or even maybe what you're washing your clothes with, all that kind of stuff, you know, then yeah, so we're gonna have a little bit of fun with those and offer a few alternatives and a little bit more about how to keep everything a little bit happier, and what things that my five big pet hates.
Ah, fantastic. Well, I am really excited about listening to that. So, Joanna, for now, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank
It's
you for
been a
having me. It's been lovely.
wonderful story. I've learned so much. And I always like to listen back to these recordings as well, because I'm listening and I'm asking questions. But when I listen back, I like to make a lot of notes and think about what I in my life. So
yeah, no, it's been lovely. Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to that in 2 weeks. And I just like sharing, even if it just kind of like makes people think, oh, I never thought about that. That's interesting.
Oh, well, you've left us with a lot to share, or think about already. So thank you so much. So
You're
for
welcome.
now, anyone who's listening to this recording, please make sure that you connect with us on Thursday, 31st of March. And also, if you like what you've heard tonight, don't forget to like the video and also share the video. And if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, don't forget to press that subscribe button, because you will find out about the next updates that are coming through on the channel. So for now, we will leave you, and we hope to see you on Thursday, the 31st of March at 7:30. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.